This video shows you how to approach the modifying parts assignment for the caster in the AEDD170 class. What I want you to do is to open up your existing assembly. This is the assembly you created directly after making all the parts. Then I want you to use the pack and go function found under the file pull down menu to create a copy of the entire assembly and each of the individual parts. In order to do that, go to pack and go, browse to a new location. I'd like you to put this in a folder called ModifyCaster. So create that folder on your S drive, and I want you to add a suffix to the end of each of the files of 0, 1. Make sure flatten to single folder is checked off and that you're not creating a zip file. Pick the save function. It will go through and save each of the individual parts and the assembly. Then you can close your original assembly, and then I want you to go ahead and open the one you just created. This is the one I just created. You'll notice that all the parts have a 0, 1 at the end, so now instead of saying Rev 0, 0, it says Rev 0, 0, 1. I'm now going to open up that assembly, and this is the one I'd like you to modify for this assignment. The specific assignment is contained in a document called Modifying Parts. That document is found on your R drive, AEDD170, in the Unit 1 to 4 caster folder, and it's just called Modifying Parts, and I placed it there on the 13th of February. If you go down through, it asks you to do a number of things. The first thing it wants you to do is to delete the steel plate from the assembly, and then create a new steel plate in the assembly using convert entities to create a hole pattern. Then it says you may have to remate the bolts. Then you have to do some other things, including changing the diameter of the wheel, modifying the width of the rim, and making sure that the result of that is not any other interferences. So you might have to modify some other parts. If your parts are made correctly, this is going to be a very easy and not particularly time-consuming assignment. But the one thing you may not be familiar with is using the convert entities. I'm going to go over that right now. First thing I'm going to do is to take that steel plate, and I'm going to delete the steel plate, which is going to cause a problem with some mates. It also is going to cause a problem with the local pattern because I used a linear pattern to place those bolts. So when I delete that plate, the linear pattern is going to lose the edges of the plate, which I use to indicate the direction of the linear pattern. So now what I need to do is to go and find the linear pattern, which is down here at the bottom. You'll notice that it's yellow. I'm going to edit that linear pattern, and where the direction window is now blank, I'm going to select one edge of the top plate for the direction in the first instance, then go down to direction 2 and select a different edge of the top plate, and you notice what it's going to do is to place those bolts in there correctly by understanding what the directions are going to be. Now to create a new top plate, I'm going to insert a component or a new part into this assembly, and I'm going to build this part in the context of the assembly itself. I go to Insert, Component, New Part. You're going to get this error message in this lab. That simply is because I installed 2 versions of SOLIDWORKS, 2010 and 2011, and 2011 is a little confused as to the default templates. All you have to do is pick OK and OK again, and you'll be all set. Now you have this green check. If you look at the bottom status bar, it tells you to select the face or plane on which to position the new part. I want it positioned here, so I'm going to select that point. Now all the parts that are a part of the assembly become clear, just so that you know that they're not part of this assembly itself. I'm also now going to go and just hide each of the bolts so that when I do this, it's just a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. Rather than right-click on the bolt, I'm going to go over to the Feature Manager, right-click, go to the little eyeglasses that says Hide Components, go down to the next one, do the same thing, and then go to the local pattern and do the same thing. I can't hide the whole pattern as it turns out. I thought I could. No, so what we'll have to do is go in and take each one of these and hide them. And then we'll come back afterward and I'll make them visible again. That's all I really need to hide just to get everything out of my way. Now I'm going ahead and going to make a new part. I'll look down at it from the top view, come out a little bit, go to the sketch function. Under sketch, I'm going to grab the rectangle. I'll just put a rectangular plate on top of it. Doesn't really matter how big it is because it's simply indicating a piece of another plate. So I don't need to dimension it, but I'm going to anyway just to make sure that I have everything fully defined. We'll go with 200 millimeters. In that case, come over here. We'll go with 128 millimeters. I'm typing the millimeter symbol because the units are not set properly for this new assembly. So when I get out of here, I'm going to leave that for a second, go up to my options and change the unit. Okay, now I'm back in the editing the part mode. I've got a sketch for that rectangle, so what I want to do now is to go ahead and extrude it. In order to extrude it, I'm going to go back up to the tabs, go over to Features, Extruded Boss Base. There's my sketch I want to extrude. Have it come up 6 millimeters. Looks like that. Now here's the part where I'm going to use convert entities because I want those holes in this base, in this plate, to match the holes in the top plate here. So I'm going to go in, go up to the sketch mode again. Under sketch mode, I'm going to have to move this aside, but you're going to see convert entities up there. I'm going to select convert entities. When I do, I'm going to get a feature manager window that allows me to select the individual entities. Once I've selected the surface I want to put those entities on. I'm sorry, there's one thing I neglected to do, which is to select the button that says sketch to go back into the sketch mode. Now it asks me to select a planar face. Now that I've selected that face, now I can go over to convert entities and select the entities I want to convert. Now the entities I want to convert include each of the holes. You notice when I go over here to pick one, it's looking for a plane, and the reason it is because there's this large plane surface behind. This is where I'm going to type the letter E, which now filters my selection set. You see a little bit of funnel there, so that it will only select edges. Now I can pick that edge of that hole, the edge of that hole, the edge of that hole, and the edge of this one. Once I've got all of those selected, go over and grab the green checkbox, and now each of those things has been converted, and the relationship that's added is what's known as an unedge relationship. I'm going to close out convert entities, press the E again so that I get rid of my filter, and then I'm going to go to the features, and now I'm going to do an extruded cut, and then I'm going to have each of those holes go up to surface. Select that surface right there, check that button right here, and now I've got a hole pattern. That hole pattern is based on the hole pattern of the top plate. That means if I change the hole pattern in the top plate, it will subsequently change the hole pattern in that steel plate as well. I'm going to save my assembly, all the parts. It contains an unsaved virtual component. We can save it internally, which is inside the assembly, or externally. I'll go ahead and save it externally. Name right now is part 1. I'll change that to steel plate. Rev 0001. Okay, it's going to go in the same location as the one I have. Now just quick demonstration, if I were to go and open up the top plate now, and in that top plate go and make a change in those holes, either in their position or in their size. So what I'll do is just change their size. Right now the size of that hole is 8 millimeters. If I were to change that to 12 millimeters, much bigger hole, you can see it's a lot larger there. When I go back to the assembly, update the assembly, the holes in the top steel plate have gotten larger as well. So you can see that they're controlled by the holes in the top plate.